I'm going to sit here and hopefully not make myself a ton to edit out. But I am going to be seam ripping the top edge of this sheet. And I'm going to talk to you about what I'm doing. Not with this sheet. If you don't know how to seam rip, I'm not a tutorial channel at this point on sewing. Okay, so what am I doing? The hope is I want to make a me-made wardrobe. And my hope with said... Every time I start recording. Okay, anyway, so... Hi guys, I'm Megan, in case you're new here. What am I doing? I am seam ripping this sheet because I'm going to make a skirt out of it. Why am I making a skirt out of it? Because it's cotton. I would say it's big, but it's actually a twin size sheet, so that's not actually accurate. Anywho, the plan is I would like to make a me-made wardrobe. Said wardrobe will be sewn by hand. The overall plan for the wardrobe is that I would like it to be about 18 pieces. And that's nothing against people that have lots of clothes in their closet. It's just, it's not really manageable for me. Oh, why 18 pieces? 18 pieces for me is manageable. Theoretically, at one point I actually bought 18 hangers. But they wouldn't be the same 18 hangers if I'm going to have skirts. So, you know, anywho, why did I land on 18 pieces? I have run the gamut on my clothing. When I started decluttering clothing, I've got a 6x6 walk-in closet with a cutout for the water heater, and it was packed. I don't know if that was all my clothes at that point in time. It may have been. It may not have been too. For a while, we did the whole family closet thing. So the kids' clothes were in my closet as well. So I've kind of run both sides of the spectrum on that. When I started decluttering clothes, I don't know if I jumped right into Project 333 or not. I know that I didn't really have anywhere to pack them away. This is not ripping well. What I'm trying to do here is actually unpick this top section so I have a little bit more fabric to work with. I started with a lot of clothes. And, you know, this was back, the kids were quite a bit younger. Not everything fit well, not everything worked well on me. I've had weight issues where, like, you know, I just randomly put on 20 or 30 pounds. A lot of times because I tried to lose weight. That has actually historically been what I have done when I try to lose weight, is that I will actually gain about 20 to 25 pounds. The most I've ever put on trying to lose weight was 40. And mainly because it came on very quickly. Anyway, weight issues. If you are interested in losing weight or want to know what I am currently working on, that'll all be on the Going Green Mom channel. And so, like, you can pick that up over there. But with this wardrobe, I guess I should get from... So I had a lot of clothes. I weeded out what didn't fit. I picked a base color, which I picked black at the time. And then 3 accent colors. And I just kind of... So, like, when I picked black, then I weeded out all of the brown and navy stuff. Which these days, I feel like black is a little harsh on me. But we'll probably cover that later, because I just ordered 3 pairs of black jeans. Anyway, I'm having issues. And, I kind of swung the actual opposite direction. And when everything shut down in March of 2020, I had uniform pants. I had a bunch of white t-shirts that I was required to wear for work. and I had about 2 outfits that were not uniform related. Just because I didn't fit anything. Like over time, before I worked at the casino, I was working in an office. And had been for years. So even like as I changed offices, it was all sort of business casual. And that didn't really work well for a casino kitchen. And that's fine. I just went with the casual thing and just sort of pared down as time went on, and I got sick of certain clothing items. I just let them go, which was fine. But not really conducive to a trailer with no AC when you get put on furlough going into the summer. It didn't work well. So I got clothes in 2020 to wear with no real rhyme or reason or plan, you know, because nothing really had any rhyme or reason in 2020. And then over time, it's just sort of been one of those things. I didn't like stuff or I didn't fit stuff. I let it go. In case you're unaware, I have put on, since the shutdown, I think about 70 pounds. My current wardrobe is t-shirts, 3/4 length sleeve, and I think I've got 1 tank top. Most all St. John's Bay V-neck, mostly in navy, and I don't know, if you've watched the channel at all, you've seen the lighter blue color that I really like. And so I've got an actual spreadsheet for tracking my wardrobe. I've got 29 pieces total, including shoes. 8 of those are shorts, Amazon Essentials, cotton linen blend shorts. 4 blue, 4 black. The blues are all 5X, the black is 4X. I do have a couple of the shirts I'm not wearing because they're just too short. So I've got a couple of projects I would like to do to get them more wearable. Adding tiers to them and such. I'm not sure I'm going to like that look. So anyway, I'm getting off track here. So anyway, the goal is 18 pieces. Obviously, like 2 shirts and 2 bottoms was way too little. What I've got currently is not horrible on number of pieces. I basically have about 8 or 10 shirts in rotation and about 8 pairs of shorts in rotation. I've got 2 pairs of jeans that I don't honestly know if I fit into anymore. I do have a couple of sweaters and sweatshirt type things and a wrap that I made a year or 2 ago. I'm not currently planning on getting rid of anything in my wardrobe until it wears out or I size out of it. And at this point, that will be sizing down out of it, not up out of it. So I do have notes because the notes are in the phone that I'm recording on, and I'm hoping I don't have to put InShot on this phone because I don't think it has enough juice to actually power it. Anyway, so the goals for this wardrobe, I want it to be 18 pieces. I want it to be mix and match within the items. So like I will always look put together, but if items aren't worn together, they don't need to match. So like say I've got 2 tops that I make that I wouldn't be layering on each other. They're just 2 tops and would take the same place in an outfit. Those 2 could be completely clashing and I would be fine with that. But like, I don't want to have to think about, well, I have to have that pair of shorts or that, I'm not planning on making shorts. I don't want to have that skirt to match that shirt either. Like I want to be able to wear different things with different things, if that makes sense. For this capsule wardrobe, I would like to have it done in 3 6-piece modules. Now, if you haven't heard of module sewing, you kind of make a mini capsule wardrobe, and they typically have 3 tops, 2 bottoms, and 1 topper. And some people will add on a one-piece item like a romper or a dress. 6-piece modules. At my current size, for me to make a full dress that is long enough for me to be comfortable, I would actually need more than a complete sheet set. That sounds horrible to say, but I don't know, maybe if it was a king size sheet, but that really doesn't give you that much more than a smaller sheet set. Have some fabric. We'll get to that later. I have multiple sheets I would like to turn into things that are earmarked for sewing rather than sheet use. How bizarre. I'm sorry. That seems to be making me very fuzzy. Okay, maybe that's better. And I'm sorry, this looks like I've got sunglasses on. I have transition lenses, and obviously this camera doesn't like this light setup. Anywho, so I'm going to do 3 6-piece modules, mainly just for me to kind of comprehend and have a breaking point to say, okay, this is where I got to with these skills on this set of clothing. I definitely want to change what I'm doing or fix or tweak or whatever for the next set. It's just kind of giving me a place to reset and review. There are a variety of different design planning things that are out there. A lot of them seem to ask you to like choose words to guide what you want your style to be. And the 3 words I have chosen, some of them will specify what kind of words they are for each one. It's been a while since I put this together. I will link a couple of the places I've watched or listened to down below in case you are interested in getting into this. The 3 words I have picked are comfortable, put together, and polished. Mainly, I have gotten to that because when I worked in offices, I tended to wear business casual. And I am not one of these people that is good at, I get off work and I go home and change. Like, it makes sense logically. I just don't do it. So, like, I would show up at school functions still in my work pants and nice top because, you know, a t-shirt and jeans wasn't work appropriate. So, one of the compliments I got a lot when I was working in offices was that I always seemed really put together. And I liked that feeling. Like, I'm sure I occasionally heard people say I was really dressed up, but, you know, I worked in an office. So, I never wore leggings anyway because I find them acutely uncomfortable. But, like, if the people you're around are wearing athletic wear all day, every day, it's not hard to feel put together in comparison, I guess. So, like, I'm not trying to be a fashion queen or anything. I'm not terribly into fashion or style at all. I find it really hard to find anybody that has a style I like. Even like within the YouTube sewing community, I'm amazed at how many people wear prints. And I'm not comfortable in prints. And I don't know, maybe some of that's my size. I don't feel like I look good in prints. For a while when I was in the office, I was getting a subscription box and they would have some prints that I'd be okay with. And I'd look good in, but it was like a weird size. It wasn't little prints. It wasn't big prints. It was sort of this medium that didn't make me look bigger than I was. And it didn't make me look like a child. So yeah, probably won't be a whole lot of prints anywhere in this. I just find them very hard to wear. And if anyone has ideas on how to get over that or get past that, or what kind of prints I could wear that would not make me feel that way, feel free to let me know, because it would give more variety. As far as colors go, I want them to go well together. But I don't have signature colors or anything really. If anything, it's that sort of blue that I don't know the name of. I wouldn't really call it cerulean or cyan, but I think a lot of places call it some sort of cyan. Anyway, it's kind of a bright universal blue, but it's not like true blue, and it's not navy by any means. As the color theory stuff goes, I'm somewhere sort of in between a winter and an autumn. I have typically dressed more winter because like a lot of the golds and browns and yellows I just don't think look good on me. In all honesty, the times I've liked my wardrobe the best and I feel the most put together and like it's the easiest to get dressed, as it turns out, most of the colors in my wardrobe are actually considered universal colors. So like jewel tones, navy. Black is not a universal color, but I look good in black, so it's fine. It seems a little harsh up around my face these days, and I think some of that has to do with tanning. And not that I'm going tanning, I don't look pasty white right now because I've been spending time in the sun. You know what I mean. Anyway, so anything else on this? Oh, I am hand sewing this. The reasons for that: I'm afraid of sewing machines. I made it barely made it through my 9-week sewing class in middle school. And I don't exactly know where that fear comes from because I don't remember much of anything pre-13, but I do believe I watched my mother sew over or through her finger at one point. We do actually have sewing machines around or getting fixed. I've given them to my daughter. My sewing stuff is from both my grandmother and my mom, and a little bit from my grandma, but that was more like sewing and not sewing, like knitting and yarn stuff. Anyway, although I am including crocheting because I never figured out how to knit. I'm not coordinated enough for it. I do, however, have yarn. And it's sort of teal and a wine color that I plan to use at one point. Anyway, as far as my sewing plans go, my hope is to get one item done per month. 1 month out of the year will be for a household project. Like my next household project would probably be finishing stockings. And then the next household project after that will probably be reverse embroidery. Reverse applique gift tags. And then 1 month I am planning on being for mending or catch-up. Okay, so that's kind of the basic overview. I'm aiming for 18 pieces. Now, what are the constraints for that 18-piece wardrobe? It's going to be hand-sewn because I'm afraid of sewing machines. Yes, I know, it's not reasonable, but on the other hand, I do enjoy sewing by hand, and it's relaxing, and it helps with my anxiety levels. So, definitely going to be hand-sewn. And yes, that does play into why I'm planning on no more than 1 piece per month. Okay, so the next ones. Natural fibers. I have mast cell issues. I break out in hives. I have issues with heat. So things like polyester don't work well. The plan at this point... Oh, and then the other thing there is highly processed natural fibers don't work well either. So I'm looking at cottons. I'm looking at linen. Some wool, only because it's in my stash now. And my mother bought it outside of the country. Plan to use silk. I do have some silk long underwear that I use for layering in the fall and winter. And I'll plan to keep that, but I'm not planning on sewing with silk. So those are basically my 3 fibers that I'm planning on using. I'll if I can get my hands on blends of the 2 or 3 or whatever, I'll do that as well. As far as wool goes, I am also sensitive to the chemicals that are used to clean wool in the US. So, like, I can wear merino wool socks that are organic, like the Darn Tough and some of those. I can wear those because they don't use the harsh chemicals. But just in, like, mass market wool that I would buy at a fabric store, I'm not going to be able to wear. Unless it's from a fabric store in Europe, UK, Australia, places like that. They don't allow the chemicals that the people in the US use to clean the wool. I do have some in my stash that Mom bought when she was in Australia for 6 months back in the 70s. I may have some wool from trips to South America, but I don't know for sure. I don't know the fabric content of most of that. I also don't know what the coloring on any of that stuff is. The one large piece I think is actually brown and will probably wind up in something for my youngest, who would really like a cape. Anyway, I've got to be able to stay on track with this thing because every time I start sewing much, she wants to get in the lineup of, hey, can you make me this? Or, hey, can you work on that? Anyway, so that is the fabric constraints. What are the other constraints? Oh yeah, that whole weight loss thing. I've got 180 pounds to lose. And my hope is to lose them in the next 2 years. Will it possibly take longer than that? Yes. Will it possibly take less than that? Yes. I would like to be out of the weight loss phase by summer solstice of 2026. I don't know. That's a lot of weight to lose. In the last, I got the scale in like a week or so into July, and I'm averaging about 1 pound a week. So, I don't know. Body Slims starts September 25th, and I expect that once I get some help with the mental aspects and some more, like, I want to say training. I'm not really, like, more advice on what exactly I should be doing in terms of calories and whatnot. I'm assuming I will lose a bit more quickly based on what I've seen from other people. So the clothing that I want to make needs to be adjustable through large amounts of weight loss. I don't expect pieces to get me through all 180 pounds, but I'm hoping I will be able to adjust them through quite a bit of that and maybe like take stuff in as I lose as well, if that makes sense. Of course, I would like to stash bust as much as possible. I've got 3 totes plus of fabrics. It would be really nice if I could get that down to, say, 2 totes of fabric, and then I could have other stuff packed away in the other 2 totes. Or just, I can't get rid of them because they're benches for the kitties to lay on. We have functional storage around here. If you throw a cushion on top of a tote, they make excellent window height benches. Anywho, getting back to the whole materials thing. Because I react to synthetic fibers to some degree, and they just kind of drive me nuts. Another thing that went out the window in 2020 was like bras and underwear. So I would like to be able to basically have it built in, or at some point I will need to make some style of bra that will help things fit better. As far as that goes, I guess I could talk about patterns. Okay, so I've told you that I've got sheets that I'm working with for at least the first round of sewing that are in some pretty colors that I really like for the most part. Don't know if you can see. This is sort of a dark teal. I've got a light teal that would go really well with this. I've got a navy sheet. I've got a black sheet. I have teal and wine colored cotton yarn. And then I do have a few patterns. I am currently sized out of most patterns. I say most. There are a few companies. And And there are also companies that will size patterns if they don't carry your size. Honestly, most of those companies are not designing for my body shape. I am, sorry, little bit, does not know what to think of me having this hooked up on one of her jumping zoomy spots. Okay, so what I know that there are companies that will adjust patterns to fit the size that you need. What I have found is a lot of those companies are designing for people with a more apple body shape. And even though I am quite large, I am still very much an hourglass or possibly a pear. And so it doesn't really look right on me if I'm wearing those styles of clothes. Now, to complicate things further, I am very short-waisted. So let's see if I can get this on screen. Okay, so in case you're unaware, because I know most people have not come to my channel for sewing anything because, you know, it's the first sewing video I've put out. So anyway, my hip bone stops right here. My rib cage starts right there. So basically I've got less than an inch between my rib cage and hip bones. That is incredibly short-waisted. Constraints. Hand sewn, natural fibers, adjustable through large amounts of weight loss. And I do have a plan for that. I'll get to when I'm talking about patterns. Stash busting as much as possible, and needs to have built-in chest support, or I need to at some point construct some sort of support that hopefully would also get me through quite a ways of weight loss. All right. So fabrics, I've got this dark teal sheet. I don't like this lighting, but honestly, I was watching Rain Country work on her skirts and my plans changed. And I'm like, oh, I was going to film that video and I was going to do a voiceover as I cut out a shirt twaddle. And I've got no desire to do that. And I'm like, I'm going to do that anyway, so I might as well go ahead and seam rip stuff. And then I don't have to edit a talking head video. And here I am talking head. Anyway, so I've got this dark teal sheet. I've got a light teal sheet. I've got a navy sheet, a black sheet, and teal and wine yarn. Now, I do have 3 patterns I plan to use, as well as adaptations. So I have the Cashmerette Upton pattern that was a gift from my brother and his wife for Christmas a couple years ago. Last year? I don't know. It was either last year or the year before. And the one that they got me was the one with the expansion pack, so I also have the skirt patterns as well. I also have the Cashmerette Rose Claire. Technically, I believe I am sized out of them based on my bust and hip measurements. I think. And looking around, I'm not seeing my binder right now. So I'm definitely sized out of them with at least one of those sections. Now, that said, I have worked on multiple occasions on toiles for the Upton and not made much progress. When I contacted them to ask for help on knowing how to scale these patterns to fit my measurements, they basically just said, well, you'll just have to scale them. Like, not helpful at all. Which seems to be an odd reaction from what other people have talked about having when they ask them for advice or help or anything like that. I just got a very rude and short email, and it was enough to turn me off sewing completely for a good 6 months. But of course, it's one of those, I am wanting to sew in part because I can't find a good amount of clothes in my size, in the fabrics I need. Why? Why do they make plus size clothing primarily out of plastic? Like, why? Who thought that was a good idea? I know it's cheap, but good Lord, you don't want to smell people that are that big when they've been wearing plastic. Anyhow, that's pet peeve, I guess, at this point. So the plan at this point, number one, what I learned from the first couple of toiles I made, at least on my top half, their largest size in the Upton is not too big for me or too small for me in any way, shape, or form. Like, even though measurement wise, when I was looking at it, I'm supposed to be too big for it. So I don't know how much ease they have factored in, but basically I'm looking for chest support. I am actually planning to take the pattern pieces, cut them out in their largest size, and the hope is that I just don't have any ease. And to make sure that I don't have any ease, on top of that, I am planning to use the split side concept from Charlie over at the Stitchery. I don't know if she started with skirts or dresses, but the basic idea of the split side whatevers is that most of the skirts are connected up until about the widest part of your hips, and then it splits, and you tie it in the front, you tie it in the back, and that is where you get your sizing from, so it's adjustable. And she has done dresses like this as well, where you basically will have... The Coleco skirt is very complicated, from what I can tell, but does this sort of adjustable thing, and it also has pockets, and if you know Charlie from the Stitchery's videos at all, she puts pockets in everything. So right now, my plan is bottoms, like skirts or dresses, will have pockets. Charlie has a basic shape pocket she uses and stitches it into the same material for the waist so that it's in the right spot and everything. And then, so yeah, like that's my plan with that. I'm not sure how well it will go over once I'm losing weight. Like, I might have to take things in somehow or cut off the edges and reshape a little bit. But the Upton has princess seams, it has darts, it has square V-neck and round necklines. It has a gored skirt. It has, I believe, an A-line skirt, I believe, and a pleated skirt. The Rose Claire is a wrap style, and it has a tiered skirt. And my current thought process on making built-in chest support is actually to layer the wrap from the Rose Claire underneath the Upton, like it would be stitched at the shoulder seams and the side seams, and hopefully I can, and these things will be split side. So like it would be crossover here, crossover here. That would give the lift. And then I would have the Upton layer that would be coming over top, and it would sash around the back and then also help provide some of that support. So yeah, taking the ease out and then doing the wrap and possibly doing multiple layers, at least on the front. I'm hoping will work. There is an old like wrap style thing that I've seen in some of the various period. I don't know why I'm looking over there. Like literally what my eyes are falling on is the hot water heater. Anyway, there is like a wrap style bra on some of the older extant garment videos talking about stays and corsets and whatnot. I would love to get a corset. It just doesn't make any sense with the amount of weight I have to lose. I did have one that I wound up too small for, donated it, put more weight back on, and and then I'm probably way too big for what it would have fit anyways at this point. But eventually I might just go ahead and get a corset, because there is one that we actually found that's a good quality. It's not expensive. The materials are great. And it's not expensive on Amazon. We got one for my daughter last year, I think around Black Friday, and it was like less than $100, and she's got a really nice corset. Anyway, so that might be a thing as I get smaller, but not right now. Oh, if I'll wind up with a bunch of loose skin or not, that is somewhat concerning, simply because I've got Ehlers-Danlos, and, you know, loose skin is definitely a thing. I say that. You guys are probably going, what the hell do you mean? Ehlers-Danlos is a connective tissue disorder. So the way my rheumatologist used to explain it was, it's like my body's made out of cheap rubber. And, you know, skin's part of that cheap rubber. So anyway. Oh, the last pattern I have will definitely have to be scaled, which is very scary to me. But it's a quick sew kimono pattern, and it's the one I would like to make out of crochet. So it might wind up being one of those things. I just sit there and I make the pieces crocheted and see how much they expand when they hang. I don't know. We'll have to play with that more later. Ideas for what I want to make with what I've got right now. This was going to be a split side top, and it is now going to be the Rain Country homestead skirt. I think that's what she calls it. Heidi over at Rain Country, I will link her playlist below. She does these patchwork skirts. They are very full. An adult version of her skirt in one of the videos I was watching today, she says takes 7 yards of fabric. And it is actually not big enough for me. So I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. But at the same time, it's like, okay, when you're using 10-inch squares to make a patchwork skirt, that's a lot of seam allowance too. And if I'm going to do a solid color, do I really need that much seam allowance? And the answer to that is no, I don't. So what I am going to do is I am going to take and I am going to split this sheet. Once I get that, I keep talking and not working. Okay, so on the short side, all right, on the short side, so like this would be side to side on the sheet. It's a twin size sheet, first of all. Okay, the dimensions of this sheet, not including the large hem at the top, is 92 by 64. So that's 64 side to side and then 92 long. So what I'm going to do, my current hip measurement is 64 inches. So like the cashmere stuff, it's just a little too big, or like kind of right on the borderline. I think when I started losing weight, I was up at 65 or 66. Not really sure. I can't get to my spreadsheet that has my measurements on it. Anyway, so her skirts are normally designed in 3 to 4 layers, depending on how long you want it to be. And I would prefer to have a longer skirt. And that's just what I feel comfortable in, especially going into fall and winter, and I'm going to be outside walking. So my current hip measurement is 64 inches, and she says you need at least a couple inches beyond that. So my top tier is going to be 66 inches long. And then she does hers in a 10 by 10 square pat. Like she cuts different materials, and she does 6 squares on the first layer, 12 on the second, 24 on the third, and 48 on the bottom. And so that works out to be some ginormous amounts of fabric. What I'm going to do instead, because I do not have ginormous amounts of fabric, I'm going to do my top tier 66 inches. That will have 2 seams, 1 on each side. And the very top, I will leave the current hem, because like, you know how the side of the sheet is hemmed? I'm going to leave that. Her skirts are drawstring, but they also have elastic in the back. So you've got a little bit of ease if you're like bending and stuff, like, so you don't feel like you're being, anyway, so like basically like that will be, and I'll just turn it over an inch, which will give me the casing for the drawstring and elastic. And save me a little bit of fabric and a whole hell of a lot of time, because remember, I'm hand sewing this. The outside edges will become the bottom hem, so I don't have to hem the whole stinking thing. And then I will basically fold over and then fold over again the top and do it as best as I can with as little seam allowances as possible. She basically takes 1 square and just sort of hand gathers it. Actually, she hand gathers 2 squares into 1 square. I've tried sewing gathers by hand. I haven't figured out how to do it yet. Katherine Sewing has a version of the split side skirt on her channel. She did it by hand with gathers. I have no idea how. I don't understand how, like, I don't know. When I was trying it, it was just fraying everywhere. And it's not like it was a poly fabric. It was quilting cotton that I was using. So my daughter suggested just doing small little pleats. And I think that's what I'm going to do. And at that point, I don't know what kind of pleats. I might do little box pleats. I don't know. I will basically be taking 1 entire tier and laying it out on the next tier, and I'm going to just pleat until I can figure out what it's supposed to look like. And then I will take and I will stitch it. I have been debating, because I am hand stitching and I'm fairly new at that, so I don't know how strong my stitches will be. I am planning on back stitching, but I am thinking that I very well may use some bias tape to help give more stability. She doesn't really finish her seams at all. They just kind of fringe out, and that works with the materials she's working with. But like she's doing a zigzag stitch and whatnot that works really well for keeping stuff from fraying and falling apart. And I'm just not sure I trust myself that much. So I very well might be like stitching a line of bias tape in when I do the bottom seam, and then covering over that seam to the top. If you know anything about sewing and that's a bad idea, can you let me know that? Yeah, my plans for this current module will be a rain country skirt that's heavily modified. And because she does the drawstring with elastic in the back, the elastic will be completely encased, and so it won't be touching my skin and should be fine. So I'm fine with that. And then I will be planning to do a split side top out of the Upton. It will be an Upton split side top. I have been obsessed with lately with square necklines, so it will probably be a square neckline. It will probably be princess seams. And it will probably be out of the light teal. I do have muslin here that I will be doing the toiles out of. The skirt, I just kind of feel like there's no way in HE double hockey sticks that I am going to sew that much on a frickin' toile. Especially when it's that adjustable. Because she was talking in one about customizing it for little girls, that you can actually take a 40-inch wide waist and you can cinch that down fairly easily to an 18-inch waist, and it works just fine for them. That way they can grow into it. And I figure if I can do that, even if I lose like half of my waist, you know, not a big deal. I can just cinch it down some more. So I'll have the split side top. The Rain Country skirt will be one of my bottoms. My topper in this one, the last couple Decembers, I've sat down and actually crocheted something. So I would kind of like to do the kimono out of the cotton yarn in December. I don't know. I might do the Rose Claire version of the skirt out of the black. See, here's the thing. I've got black and I've got navy. I do have 3 pairs of black jeans that should fit me on order from Penny's right now. Mainly, I don't... It really had me worried that I didn't have any black pants. I don't know why. In reality, it's probably more pertinent to realize that I don't know if I fit into any of the long pants that I own. I've got 8 pairs of shorts that fit me. The skirt and dress that I have are kind of tight. Or were the last time I was in them, so it's one of those... Those are iffy. So I really... It's been 60 degrees. Or not much above that the last couple days. I really need some long pants I can wear. So I've got 3 black pants coming in. Little bit has the zoomies again. So I'll be able to wear them some on my walks. I will have this skirt hopefully by no later than mid-October. And then, so I've got pretty much whatever options I want with skirts. I could do a gourd skirt. I could do an A-line skirt. I could do a pleated skirt. No, I don't have enough fabric in any one material to do the pleated Upton. I am hoping I have the other sheet of this that I could do a split side or a Rose Claire top. And basically what I'm doing on the tops, I am going to do them split side, so I've got the adjustability, but I'm doing the bodice pieces, which basically just go over the bust. And then I will do the top tier of the skirt. There are hacks available various places for both the Upton and the Rose Claire. The Rose Claire is really simple. You basically just do the top tier and then stop it. And it is a hip length top. Hip length is a great place for me. Not like hip, but like if I stop at the high hip, if I stop a shirt where it would normally fall for a normal person's high hip, it's actually a good length for me because that sort of gets the proportions evened out a bit so that I've got 1/3 and then 2/3 on the bottom. It's really, I don't know, it's above where the widest portion of my hip is by a few inches, so it's not like it's cutting me at the widest point. I don't know if I'm explaining this well. This is my first sewing video. And hopefully it is not horrible. I know this thing has been going in and out of focus, and it's driving me crazy, and this is probably one of the reasons I don't film on this phone. Anywho, it's also about to cut off for the second time because of how long I'm talking. So anyway, I am going to start cutting this fabric that is 100% cotton, but it's also not a weave that I can just rip. which is not ideal. Like, she just rips her squares and is very fast. I'm actually going to have to get the rotary cutter out and do that. So anyway, I'm going to get off here. I do have that top part seam ripped, and that was the plan. And I guess I'm going to have to do some editing on this because I've got multiple sections. Anyway, have a great night. A little bit at a time really adds up over a lifetime. Hopefully that works with my sewing skills too. I will see you guys next week.